What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Once again, we're going to do another Samsung Galaxy S10 comparison. I think the Samsung Galaxy S10 has been out for like a month and a half, and if you guys didn't know my dilemma, I pretty much already talked about this, but I think the Samsung Galaxy S10 is an amazing phone. I think it's tremendous, but I just don't think the new batch of smartphones are just like killing it right now. And that kind of shows with the whole like trend of phone sales kind of decreasing and not many people buying them. And I was going to return my Galaxy S10, but the return policy went up, so I literally just have my Samsung Galaxy S10. Not that much news of the Galaxy S10's coming out. There's no software to be reviewed, so it's just sitting here. I felt really bad for it, so I kind of wanted to do another comparison with the Galaxy S10, and now we have the iPhone 7 Plus right there, so I'm like, you know what, might as well compare the two. And interestingly enough, I mean, as you guys know, the Galaxy S10 is a much better phone than the 7 Plus. This is not to say the 7 Plus is better or whatever like that. I'm just trying to see with these older phone comparisons, basically like how much better of a device it is, like how much is it worth it that much more? Is it twice the price, 33 times better of a value, whatever? And that's pretty much all I try to find with this type of comparison. So looking around the Samsung Galaxy S10, as you can see, obviously you already know the glass on the back, glass on the front, very premium build. It doesn't feel cheap at all. I think it's very, very good. I don't think like I said, the Samsung Galaxy S10 in the hand, it's one of the best feeling phones I've ever owned. And the fact that there's no bezel on it, the only hole punch display really, it just gives it that much more of a premium feel. So without a doubt, I think the Samsung Galaxy S10 definitely feels better than the iPhone 7 Plus. But I will be honest, the 7 Plus doesn't feel that cheap either. It doesn't have glass on the back. It's still kind of that whatever build it was. I will say though, if you get the jet black iPhone 7 Plus, that thing, I think is the best feeling phone I've ever owned in my life. That thing is like crazy. Of course, the S10 is a much better premium feeling phone, but I don't know, was there something about that 7 Plus that made me feel really good about owning it. Looking on the front, the 7 Plus had a 5.5 inch 1080p IPS panel. It wasn't bad. Even now, I don't think it's horrible. It has true tone display, and you know, everything kind of considered, like it really wasn't that bad of a panel at all. Where the Samsung Galaxy S10 has a 6.1 inch 1440p dynamic AMOLED panel, which is very, very good. It is a very solid panel. I see no reason at all why it's even lower in quality than 7 Plus. Between these two, the Galaxy S10's display is much better, but that isn't to say that the iPhone 7 Plus's panel is horrible. Like I said, it's definitely had its place in time, and it's still a pretty decent panel, but the Galaxy S10's panel is so good, and there's really no competition there. I think it's one of the best panels out right now, but that is my opinion. Now, in terms of the inside, actually, interestingly enough, both of them do have IP certification, a sort of waterproofness. The Galaxy S10's is better, but the iPhone 7 Plus had IP67 dust and water resistance, so you can go up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes, so that's really, really cool. Where the Galaxy S10 had IP68 dust and waterproof, that's what it says on the spec sheet. It was 1.5 meters for 30 minutes, so a little bit better than the 7 Plus, so I really like that aspect of it. I will say no matter what, whichever way you look at it, the S10 is a better phone. And another thing that's kind of funny, the 7 Plus actually was the first iPhone to remove the headphone jack, so that kind of initiated this whole trend of phones removing that headphone jack and all that stuff. But the Samsung Galaxy S10 still retains that headphone jack, so you have more port selections on the S10 than you have on the 7 Plus, so that is a pretty big thing right there. Maybe some of you are one of those people who don't want to move on from the headphone jack and you want to stick with it. You have that option with the Galaxy S10, so really, really cool little thing right there. In terms of software, this is interesting, okay? The Galaxy S10 just got started with software updates, so it's definitely going to outlast a lot of phones out there, and it should be getting at least 3 versions of Android. And I say maybe because Samsung could do a thing where they just want to start making their Android phones last longer because they redid their software, they redid a lot of stuff, so I could see Samsung totally reinventing themselves and maybe in the future increasing the lifespan of their phones. Whereas the 7 Plus, it started off with iOS 10. Right now it is upgradable to iOS 12.2, but don't forget that this phone still has a little bit more life left in it. So it's supposed to get iOS 13, and then in my opinion, I think it's going to get iOS 14 as well, and from there it could go an extra year or whatever. So technically speaking, one of these phones shouldn't like drastically outlast the other. If anything, the 7 Plus is going to be a year behind in software updates, but it could be a thing where Apple wants to lengthen the span of their iPhone 7 Plus phone for some reason. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They've done it before, so maybe they'll increase it to another version of iOS too. Could be a thing, but as of right now, I only see the 7 Plus lasting 1 year less than the Galaxy S10. So in terms of software, the Galaxy S10 does win here, but it shouldn't be too much of a surprise really. So that kind of covers up the hardware, the software things of it. Now let's look at the internal hardware of it. I know I just already said hardware. The iPhone 7 Plus had the Apple A10 Fusion chip, a quad-core CPU, and 3 gigs of RAM, where the Galaxy S10 had the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 640 GPU, and 8 gigs of RAM. And what I will tell you is, and you'll see the performance, you'll see the speed comparison I did. In my opinion, I think of course the iPhone 7 Plus is slower than the Galaxy S10, but that isn't to say that the iPhone 7 Plus is a slow device. I personally owned the iPhone 7 Plus as a main phone for I think like 6-7 months. I used it every day, and I didn't feel like that phone was slow at all. Like it was up to my standards. I thought it was really fast, and I still kind of feel like that. I think iOS 12 kind of fixed a lot of bugs that iOS 11 brought, so software really helped out the iPhone 7 Plus, and I really didn't have too much like negative things to say about it. Whereas the Galaxy S10 obviously is the newest thing. It's supposed to, it has 8 gigs of RAM, which is a ton. It can handle really anything you throw at it, and without a doubt, I'll definitely say the Samsung Galaxy S10 is faster, and as you can see, it's beating pretty much every single thing the iPhone 7 Plus is, so it's pretty much way faster than the 7 Plus, but it's not like 1 billion times faster. It's not like twice as fast or anything. It's just noticeably fast, and that's not to discourage like the iPhone 7 Plus owners. I hate to be that person who's like, oh, your phone is obsolete, it's this, is that. iPhone 7 Plus owners, I'm here with you. I still think it's a tremendous phone for the value. If it's a price per value thing, I think you're probably getting more speed with the 7 Plus than the Galaxy S10 because of the prices of them. I mean, you can't buy a 7 Plus because 7 Pluses are cheaper than the Galaxy S10, but what I will tell you is if you're not expecting the greatest thing in the world or whatever, you'll be perfectly fine with the iPhone 7 Plus. But of course, if you want to get that extra performance or whatever, the Galaxy S10 is there, and in my opinion, I think it's a faster phone. There's no hiding that, but like I said before, I don't think it's twice as fast or anything. So that kind of covers up the performance aspect of it as well. Now let's go ahead and move on to the camera sensors, and this is kind of interesting. So the iPhone 7 Plus was the first iPhone to bring a dual camera setup, so it had two 12 megapixel sensors on the back. It allowed you to zoom more into a photo with a telephoto lens, and the software was improved a little bit. You had portrait mode and portrait lighting. You can also shoot 4K videos on it, which you could have done with the 6S Plus as well. And I'll definitely say it's a very good sensor. I really don't have too many complaints about it. The Galaxy S10 though, in my opinion, is a completely different level. You have 3 different sensors on it. So you have two 12 megapixel sensors, you have an extra 16 megapixel sensor, which allows you to do like ultra wide photos and everything. The same kind of thing, the 4K, but you can't do 4K at 60 frames per second. We can only do it at 30 frames per second on the 7 Plus. You have a lot more settings in the Galaxy S10 camera as well. That's one thing that Apple, I don't know why they do it. They hide all their settings in the actual settings app. So you have to move from the camera app, go into a different app, change the settings, and come back. Samsung, they put it right there in the camera settings, and I really like that a lot. So it gives the facade that it has more features than it really does. So I'll probably say the Galaxy S10 camera is not only better in hardware, but in software as well. But I don't think the iPhone 7 Plus's camera is horrible either. In terms of the front cameras, we have a 10 megapixel sensor on the Galaxy S10 and a 7 megapixel sensor on the 7 Plus. It's kind of funny, their numbers match. And of course, the Galaxy S10's camera is probably better. I'm not like a photographer. I really don't even care about the cameras, to be honest. We can shoot 1080p on the 7 Plus on the front camera, 4K on the S10, which is pretty impressive. So without a doubt, I'll probably give the edge to the Galaxy S10, but really, I don't think it's going to be like twice as good of a camera or anything. But I do think it's a pretty big upgrade going from the 7 Plus to the Galaxy S10 in terms of the cameras. Now, this last thing I want to hit on is the battery life, and more so the battery size, but I'll go into that in a second. The iPhone 7 Plus had a 2900 mAh battery, where the Galaxy S10 has a 3400 mAh battery. And what I'll tell you is, I think possibly that the 7 Plus might just outlast the Galaxy S10, and I only say that because if you recently replace your phone battery on the iPhone 7 Plus, you'll know that it's not a bad battery at all. Now, you have to factor in degrading and all that, but that's why I said if you replace the battery soon by Apple, you'll actually see that the battery life is pretty good. I never really ran out the battery on my 7 Plus. I found it to be very good. The Galaxy S10 though, I still think it's very good. I think standby time is awesome, and I don't really have too many complaints with it. So I mean, I think in my opinion, the Galaxy S10 is a very good battery life, but I think the 7 Plus is pretty close. Maybe if it's not better, then it's actually pretty decently close. But one huge advantage of the Galaxy S10 is that not only does it have wireless charging where the 7 Plus does not, but it also has reverse wireless charging. So it allows you to charge, not the iPhone 7 Plus, but you can charge the 8 Plus, the 8, the 10, 10S, all these things that support wireless charging. You can actually put that phone on the back of the Galaxy S10 and be able to charge it. And that is super awesome, and that is something that not a lot of phones have. And that is a pretty amazing feature. Even though new phones are coming out with that technology, the fact that Samsung put it on a broader scale really shows what phone manufacturers are doing now. And of course, I will have to give this edge to the Galaxy S10. So as a whole, I mean, we kind of talked about a lot of the big points. There's really not too many little points to hit on. I mean, of course, they both have fingerprint sensors, but the Galaxy S10 has it inbuilt into the screen, which is awesome. The 7 Plus, though, might have the faster fingerprint sensor, in my opinion, because it's dedicated right there. It's not under the screen. And I found Touch ID 2 to be pretty impressive and pretty accurate most of the time. I never really had too many problems with it. And of course, no headphone jack on the 7 Plus where you have one on the S10. Expandable storage on the Galaxy S10 as well. That is a pretty big deal in my opinion. The 7 Plus, no iPhones had expandable storage ever, but the fact that the Samsung Galaxy S10 has that means that you can even buy the cheapest version they have, the 128 gig model, and go ahead and just put in a huge SD card in it and you can be set. So right there, that probably answers your question of, if it's between these two, which one you should get. Like I said in the beginning get the Galaxy S10 as a much better phone. I linked it already in the description. You can buy it from there. But in my opinion, I don't think the Galaxy S10 is twice as good of a phone of the 7 Plus's caliber. I think it's a very good phone as well. And if you currently own a 7 Plus, I'll say do just keep it. I probably wouldn't upgrade my 7 Plus until its end of life because I think it's a very good phone. I see really nothing wrong with it. There were some hardware problems early on, but I think they fixed it. So in my opinion, I think, if you own a 7 Plus, you shouldn't necessarily feel the upgrade to the S10. If you currently own neither of these, obviously go for the more expensive one, but if you can't, get the 7 Plus, man. I think it's a very solid phone still. You can go watch my full review. I did it like a couple months ago of how it holds up in 2019. You guys can go check that out. But if you want to buy either of these phones, obviously links are in the description. I find the cheapest ones on Amazon and I'll link them straight there so you guys can purchase them and help out the channel at the same time. But that is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that don't mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate it if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.